What is up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new video. And I got some of the most amazing news that any country can hear. You might be wondering, Ivan, what the heck are you talking about? Well, there are no more prisoners in Russia. What do you mean, Ivan? What do you mean that there's no prisoners? What's the point of having prisons? Is there no more crime? Are the Russian citizens not robbing banks, assaulting people, and doing all the criminality stuff that every single country has? Nope. The answer is actually very, very simple. All of those criminals that have been caught or were sentenced to prison time are actually released. And they are released in a way that if they sign up for a contract to go and fight in a war, they get amnesty from the Russian president. And the thing is, a lot of those prisoners are choosing a path of going to fight for God knows what, instead of rotting in one of the most horrible prisons in Russia. So they take their chances. They think that it's a better idea to just go sign a contract and maybe come back alive and start living the life that they had before prison, which is committing crimes and doing horrible things. Because you can imagine people like that have been doing criminal activities for many years, they get released. They go and fight in a gruesome war where they actually get PTSD after doing a lot of criminal stuff and then going to fight, probably doing a lot of criminal stuff where the war is happening in Ukraine right now. And guess what happens? They become even worse. They have psychological problems. They have that criminal mindset, and they return back home to Russia, where they have found a glitch in the system where they can be committing any sorts of crimes and then getting released the next day if they sign a contract. And there is no law that states that you can't be doing it every single time. Before I get into the news right here, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel and like the video, because I try my best as a Russian citizen to post the most real news out for you guys nearly every single day. So let me actually read this prisoner news out for you. A colony in the Urals may be closed due a mass exodus of prisoners to the special military operation, local media reported. The Federal Penitentiary Service denied this information to us, that is the media, and then stated that everything is connected to everything else. The Kamensk-Uralsk publication Vremya Press reported on the authorities' plans to close the penal colony number 59 due to the lack of convicts. Allegedly, there are only 15 people left there now. Imagine this, out of the whole prison, there's only 15 prisoners left. What a miracle. Wouldn't say that it's a great miracle, but the prisons are starting to become empty. Slowly but surely. The editors of this article attribute this to the fact that the prisoners signed contracts with the Ministry of Defense and went to the special military operation. The head of the press service of the Federal Penitentiary Service, in a conversation with Beware News, refuted this data several times. The official told the journalists that now in Sverdlovsk region, any colony can be closed, but this is due to the growth in the number of correctional centers and parolees. According to him, he does not know how many prisoners are currently in the penal colonies. At the same time, he previously told the publication about several dozen convicts. To our question whether the decrease in the number of prisoners is connected with the beginning of the special military operation, the functionary answered, "Everything is connected with everything." After 5 minutes of conversation, the official said, "It cannot be that everyone went where you say." Basically, the prison guards and the prison commissions and the prison head of the prison of the colonies and stuff like that, they're not going to be saying that we've released thousands of prisoners who've murdered people, done horrible, gruesome things, robbed old people, robbed banks, done horrible things. You know, I'm not even going to list the atrocities that those prisoners have done, but now they are basically free. Right now, they are in the Ministry of Defense fighting for Russia, but at the end of the day, some of them will be returning back to their homes. And this is going to be a very horrible experience because those people were using guns. They might be even bringing guns back. So this could actually take Russia back into the 90s. And back to the 90s, I mean, those guys at the front lines can start making friends. And when some of them actually make it back home to Russia, they can organize a huge criminal network. And they will know one thing. If anybody of them are going to get caught, there's a way out of this. Is to go and fight. And as we know, the war is not going to end tomorrow. So those guys are probably going to be using this little Russian life hack to do some really horrible things. And trust me, guys, I have seen so many news articles, so many Telegram channels posting about criminals who got convicted for like 20, 30 years for doing some horrible things, going to fight with Ukraine and then somehow miraculously return back to their home villages and home cities, committing the exact same crimes that they were sentenced to prison for. So you can imagine this type of stuff that is going to be happening in Russia, and I am actually very scared for a lot of people. There's just going to be really horrible stuff happening in Russia right now. Now let's get to a different topic. You guys know when you have internet problems, you try to see what's going on. So you use speed test. This is not an advertisement. I am not paid for this or anything like that. But usually everybody goes on speed test to check out what their speed of the internet is, to make sure that everything is all right. But in Russia, you do the same. But Russians will be banned from measuring internet speed in the speed test service. The initiative has already been supported by the State Duma and the FSB. You might be wondering why. This is because the developer of the most popular service for measuring internet speed had been accused of cooperating with US intelligence agencies to create a system for testing communication networks. Well, first of all, it's obvious that, they test out the communication networks to actually test out the speed. But Russia right now is literally saying like, oh my God, we got spies everywhere. Everyone is trying to break our country apart. Speed test is our next target. We're getting rid of YouTube. We got rid of Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Now we need to get rid of speed test so that if we slow down something, nobody will know about it. Flippin' heck, I cannot believe this. Honestly, this is what my home country is doing. They're literally removing the tools that helps out a lot of IT specialists as well. For example, before I do live streams, by the way, guys, I do live streams every single Sunday around the time the video comes out. And before I do that, I check out my internet speed because I want to make sure that everything goes all right and that I won't have any issues with the internet. Now, Russians will not be able to do that. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not even surprised. Because from the news I'm hearing from Russia, it seems like there's not going to be a point of even having a service like speed test in Russia. Because in my belief, I think the whole Russian internet is going to be cut off. And it's just going to be like the internet in North Korea or something like that, where you wouldn't need any speed testing. You're just going to be using that one server inside of Russia with all the information that the government just wants you to know. Nothing else from the evil West, like the Russian government says. Another interesting topic. Remember when I was telling you in the previous videos about the State Duma, which is like the Russian parliament, talking about banning child-free propaganda? You might be wondering, what the heck is that? Child-free means that you might not want to have kids. That's okay. You could do whatever the heck you want. In most democratic countries, you have a choice. You can have kids or not. Well, in Russia, they put in a law that you cannot propagandize saying it's okay to not have a child and live your own life. You could decide whatever you want for yourself. It's your own life. Now, that is banned in Russia. before I talk a little bit about that, let's check out this video right here. And look at how the destruction of the Soviet Union began. Back in the days of Central Committee of the CPSU, in 1989, the film Intergirl was released. Everyone applauded. There were lines at the cinemas. The secretaries of Central Committee went to watch it. The result? The country was gone. They awarded prizes for this. And then the most popular professions. I won't name them. We understand what we're talking about, right? And who did all of this? The state. The state. Again, who is to blame for the fact that marriages are falling apart? Yes, they stopped talking about mom and they stopped talking about dad. And Washington began to impose it as sexual or transitional from one sex to another. Look at the same Europe. There are no more urinals in men's toilets. They've turned them off. What will happen in the end? Sodom and Gomorrah, you and I don't want this. That's why there is a family. And a family is a union of men and women. Maybe all the tragedies that the country has gone through should teach us something. Remember Pussy Riot. Remember what discussions there were here. How many defenders spoke. And this was a test. It was ripe when they tried to destroy our faith, insult the church. You know what? I actually cannot believe the type of things I hear. Like, for example, this sounds like a speech from a Soviet television program about talking how the West is breaking up Russia and saying that people in Europe don't have urinals? I mean, what is this guy smoking? Is he alright in the head? Any toilet you go into, which says men's toilet, usually will have a urinal. Nobody has been ripping out urinals out of the toilets. Is he actually like... Funny thing is, probably his kids actually went to Europe for education. If he has any kids, I'm not even sure. Haven't researched his family or anything like that. And I can bet any money this guy has been to Europe himself. And he knows that he is just saying utter bullcrap. And the people in the parliament listening to all of this also know that he is saying complete bullcrap. But they're all nodding their heads, saying, oh yeah, they ripped out the urinals. So now men pee in a wall or something like that. I don't even know what the heck the point was in that. And saying that the Soviet Union has collapsed because of the movie and all that stuff. Soviet Union was going to collapse anyhow. A regime like that does not last a long while. It ends up collapsing, just like the regime in Russia right now, which all of them are actually really afraid that is gonna fall apart. That is the reason they're trying to speak out about all of this and trying to hold this regime together. But even by them saying how the Soviet Union fell, talking about the situation right now, this gives us a big sign that they are afraid. And they know that the regime, the current regime in Russia, is on a verge of collapsing. So they're trying their best to tighten up the bolts so that the people, the Russian citizens, won't have any idea what's going on. Feed the Russians the propaganda. But one day, when all of the Russian citizens will have nothing else to lose, they're going to be the first ones to go after all of those people in the parliament and anywhere in the Russian government. Mark my words, because I'm pretty sure that's what is going to happen. And I hope the Russian regime changes, because I really want Russia to become a democratic, free country, because I believe that Russia could be a great country. It just needs to get rid of those old Soviet people out of there and make a great democracy. The West doesn't want to cripple Russia. They just want to get rid of the dictator. And so that they can actually work together and have none of this. It would be amazing. I'm up for democracy anytime. Democracy is way better than dictatorship any day on my books. Now, on to some interesting economic news coming out of Russia. Now, you know what? I've never talked much about the economics of Russia, but I got an interesting image that you could see right here. You could see the Russian Federation being number 119, just below the best economic countries that probably has the best economies in the whole world. For example, Belarus, Ghana, Nigeria, Madagascar, Somalia, Tunisia, and Russian Federation on number 119. Just 2 steps ahead of Burkina Faso. You might be wondering, what are we talking about here? Russia slips down in a global economic freedom rankings. Russia has lost 14 positions compared to 2021 and rolled back to 119th place out of 160 possible in the world ranking of economic freedoms. Can you imagine this? A country such as Russia dropping down to 119th place? I mean, like, come on, guys. Seriously? This hurts me. Because I am a patriot of my country. I'm not a patriot of the regime. I hate the guys, but I love my country. And seeing graphs like this, I'm like, we need to get rid of all those scumbags and make Russia good again. You know, get the economy running, make a good democratic president in there, you know, have people actually voting, building roads, building infrastructure, building schools, hospitals, innovations, and all that stuff. Because Russia is just rolling back in time, and it really hurts me. I really want to see Russia amazing. But we have one big problem, and you know who it is. Now, I kept this golden news for the last. Well, it's not really golden. It's really horrible, because people are living like this in Russia in many places. A lot of people show you Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other big cities in Russia. But nobody talks about, for example, a city of Volgograd, where people are actually scared to go to the toilet because they think they're going to be falling out of the building with their toilet. Let me show you this video right here. Now I'll show you from the outside what our wall looks like. The corner from the toilet side, it's just awful. It's scary to go to the toilet. You think that you'll just fall out together with the toilet. It's true. It's just awful. This is the state of our hostel, Bistrogo 84. The wall just collapsed. And it's getting worse and worse every day. Good afternoon, I live in a hostel at the address Volgograd Bistrova 84. I would like to make an appeal to our government. In what conditions do we live and how do we even go to the toilets? To the bathrooms? This is the state of our toilet. There's an umbrella hanging because the water drips on our head every day. It's just unbearable. There are holes in the pipes. The pipes are completely unusable, as you can see. The wiring can short circuit at any moment because the water is constantly leaking from the ceiling. There are pregnant girls, children, and pensioners living here. The bathroom is also the same. We go swimming and are afraid that a slab will simply fall on our heads. Here you can already see all the reinforcement. What holes there are is just awful. It's impossible to live in such conditions. There's no heating in the bathroom, no pipes, everything is just like that. Everything is black, as you can see. It's just unbearable. We would like to be noticed from the government. So you could see the residents of Volgograd, this lady right here, is asking Russian President Vladimir Putin to somehow improve their livelihood because they are literally living in slums. The conditions of that building are not good for living. You could see that the walls had black mold, no radiators. The roof is literally falling down. It looks horrible, and it's very unfortunate for those people. But does this lady understand that this is the fault of the current government? Even her asking the government to help, they're not going to be willing to help. If they wanted to help, they would have done it a very long time ago. They could have built a new building and placed all those residents into a new building. But instead, they're spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into turning other cities outside of Russia into slums. That's where the money goes. And this lady does not understand it. And she's going to be living in that building until something, unfortunately, probably falls on her or her neighbors and somebody makes a big show out of this. At the end of the day, I'm not even sure that they're going to be displaced into any other better places after. And this is just the sad reality of what's going on inside of Russia that is not shown to the public. Most people show how Russia is amazing and innovative, and the roads are amazing, and the buildings are amazing. Nobody shows you outside of Moscow, St. Petersburg, and the major cities. This is the problems that most of the Russians have to go through. And the thing is, they don't know any better because most of them never have left Russia, but most of them actually never have left their cities to go into other cities at least to see how people live. So they don't even know how life could be different, unfortunately. All they do is watch television and get that propaganda from there and realize that it's not the Russian government that made this problem of their building. It's actually the United States somehow that probably somehow sprinkled something on that building that started eroding in a day or two and creating unlivable conditions. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found that informative and interesting at least. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Also, for you car lover guys who would like to see some car projects and car culture in Thailand right now, you could check out my second channel in the links in the description called Sanctioned Drive and follow me there. If you want to see some posts or you want to chat to me privately or anything like that, there's also a link to my Patreon in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.